Hi, welcome back. Since you're here, hopefully that means you've checked out the first video where I just do a quick overview on book clubs, my experience with book clubs, and what I hope to do with this channel. Now, this video is going to be step one. This is where we're going to get all the nuts and bolts together, everything that you need to start thinking about before you even make that first phone call, thinking about who the members of your book club are going to be, or anything like that. Now, to help out, because I know there's a lot of questions to ask, I've put together a PDF printable. It's going to be available. I'm going to put a link in the show notes, and I have a TPT or Teachers Pay Teachers account that you can go to and you can print this out for free. So we're just going to walk through this for this video, and I'm going to give you my best advice based on what I've experienced, but the printable has a lot of options for you to work through because you're going to want to make this your own. So let's get started. Question number one is going to be, where's your book club going to meet? Now, over the years, we started here in our home. When we had 5 or 6 kids, 7, 8, it was wonderful. It was very welcoming. Everybody felt comfortable. So we really enjoyed hosting in our home. Eventually, we got to the point where we outgrew our home. So we had to start thinking of a bigger location. For us, we have met over the years several times in churches, which have been a great place to meet. They've always been super welcoming. And as long as we leave everything cleaner than when we showed up, it has been a great relationship with the churches. Other places where we've met, just because conflict of schedules, we have a town social building for activities, and we've met there. But other places that you could think about meeting would be something like a coffee shop, or a lot of libraries have rooms that are available for rent. So those would be wonderful options also. Second question, how often will you meet? For us, we've met every single week for 6 weeks, and then we take a week off. Um, it just gives everybody a reset point and a little break before we start on to our next book. It has worked for us. It has not felt overwhelming meeting every single week, and it's really given us a chance to dive a lot deeper into our stories by meeting every single week. Now, I do know that some people will meet bi-weekly, and then others will meet just monthly, or they will choose to do just at the finale of the book. So you may meet every 6 weeks. So it really is going to have to depend on your group and what your schedule looks like. Third question, what type of books is your book club going to read? For us, as I mentioned in the first video, we have stuck to the classics. It's been a great opportunity for me to tackle some of the books that I may not have necessarily gone after if it were just us here at home by ourselves. But other times we've kind of gone with more of a themed classics. So we've had the Year of Adventure, which was really fun. And that was where we had Treasure Island and Journey to the Center of the Earth and Swiss Family Robinsons and a lot of the really fun stories like that. So that was a pretty exciting year. We had a lot of fun with it. This year, this is kind of weird, and it's just how the books turned out, but we kind of have the Year of the Mouse and the Rat. We've got stories like Poppy by Avi, and we're doing a Mouse in Town Square, or Cricket in Times Square. We're doing Despero, and just several books like that where the main character happens to be a mouse. Oh, Miss Frisbee and the Rats of Nim was our first book of the year, which everybody absolutely loved. So, so it's kind of strange, but we have a themed mouse year. Some others that categories you might want to look at. Sometimes you might want a theme of local authors. That actually gives you the opportunity to have some of those authors come in and talk to your book club, which is really exciting. Over the years, we've had a couple different authors come in and just talk to the kids, and the kids have gotten to ask them questions, and they've gotten to have their books signed. So that's really exciting if you have any local authors that you know of. Other ideas for books, you could stick with just taking votes and finding out from the kids, what do you want to read next? So we would call that like a people's choice. book list, going from there. So you could also talk to other parents, and we are a bunch of homeschoolers. So a lot of us have kind of some plans for the school year curriculum that we're going to go after anyways. And so sometimes, we'll talk about it and I'll get input from the different moms and find out if there's a specific book that they really need to read for that year. We'll add that onto the list. So that's an option. Next thing to think about is, will you be age or grade specific? So like I said, for us, we have always been open K through 12, and it has been beautiful. It's been great seeing how the different age groups work together, and it has worked for us. The only thing that we've run into is sometimes when we have a lot of younger ones, younger than that kindergarten age. Um, that could be a little chaotic. So at that point, we have established a separate space, and a couple of moms have taken the younger ones, and they just do kind of like a play date on the side while we're doing book club with the older ones. So that would be my only caveat with that, is there is a certain age range at which they really can't sit. And if you have kindergartners, first graders, and they really struggle with being able to sit for, a half hour at a time, because that's typically our discussion time is about a half hour. The rest of the time period, we're doing hands-on activities. So really, you're just looking at each kid and saying, can they sit and be a part of a conversation for a half hour? So for us, that's kind of been the marker, and then we've put the whole group together. But you may want to narrow yours down a little bit and say, I would like this to be, um, a second through fourth, fifth grade or something like that. And then you're really working with those great reading levels. One thing that you will run into is as you get your older students. So, for instance, mine are in high school now. So, I've got high schoolers that are reading books along with um, kindergartners. So, you have to find a balance in what they're reading. So, mine actually are reading a lot of their harder literature. They're a part of a writing group, and they're tackling some bigger books, Jane Eyre and Robinson Crusoe and stuff like that this year. But with our book club books, we're actually keeping it with easier reads that is good for all age groups. And still, they always lead to really great conversations. So you can't go wrong, even if you scale back your reading level a little bit. You still have great discussions. You could have a great discussion with a picture book if you wanted to. So that's what we do. We keep our age range pretty open, but that is completely up to you. That's one of those decisions that you're going to just kind of look through. And you may actually, when your book club is young and you have less members, it may just lend itself to being your kids' friends, and it's going to be very tight in ages. So you might just kind of change over the years as families grow and more members join in. All right, next question. Will you have a maximum number of members? So, as I mentioned before, we have 34 members in our book club, which you will never find anybody who will suggest that you have that many students in a book club. Typically, they'll say your best conversations are going to be for anyone anywhere from about 8 to 10 members would be about your max. But we've just, as families have grown, we've continued to um, let our numbers grow a little bigger. And it has worked for us because we break our students down into tables. So we have 4 or 5 tables, and we'll break off into discussions. We'll do group discussions, and then we'll also do individual discussions. So it has worked, but we do actually have a waiting list because we did have to draw a line somewhere and say this is about the max that we can handle. So we do carry a waiting list. But like I said, we did not start out this big. We started out, like I said, by 5 or 6, maybe 7 in the beginning. And that was perfect because as you're getting the hang of things and you're getting used to the flow of your book club, it is definitely easier to have a smaller number of students in the beginning. And then you can feel things out and decide if you're going to grow and where you're going to go from there. So Once you've kind of gotten an idea of how big you want your group to be, the next question is, who are you going to invite? So where do you find these other book club members? So for us, since we homeschool, we sent out invites to our co-op. I reached out to just people that we were already in community with, and from there. But you can also, if you're not already in a community of other kids, you can reach out to your library. They could post something for other families that are coming in there that have kids that might want to join in. So that's a great way that you can find others. If you are in any kind of a school group, if you're in the public schools, you could talk to the administration and see about sending home something with the other families, seeing if any of their kids would like to join the book club. You may find through your church, you may find through sports groups that your kids are a part of. Maybe they are in dance or soccer or something like that, and they're with other kids. And this may be an option that other students might or other kids might want to join in with your family. So anywhere you find kids, you basically give an invite and see if they're interested in joining. All right, next question. How long will your meetings last? So maybe if you're on the younger side and you have a bunch of kindergarten, first grade, second grade, maybe your max time for your group is going to be about a half hour. You're going to do 10 to 15 minutes of discussion, and then you're going to do a hands-on activity, and then everybody's going to go off and play when you're done. It's going to be a great day. And so that might be what it looks like. Maybe if you have an older group and you're getting into really deep discussions and the kids are just going back and forth and they're just having a lot to say, you might go an hour and a half because you don't want to cut off, the discussions and you want to give them time to do an activity or have a snack or whatever you might have along with it. So an hour and a half might work for you. For us, our sweet spot over the year for all of our age groups has been 1 hour. It has always worked out for us. We've done, by the time everybody comes in, gets settled, we always have popcorn, so they have a snack, and we kind of just get introductions and settled in, any kind of announcements or anything like that. We do discussion, and then we have our hands-on activity. It's been an hour. So for us, that's been great. And afterwards, we tend to have lunch, and then they have time to hang out together. But 1 hour has been perfect. Okay, next question. And this is kind of a tricky one, and you may not have thought of it right off the bat, but what type of worldview is your book club going to hold? And you might think, I don't really need to think about this for first graders and second graders, but you do, because more often than not, you have parents that actually a lot of times want to get in on the conversations, and it's just going to be really wise if you go ahead from the very beginning and start thinking about these kind of thoughts on what kind of conversations are we going to have, because you could find that some people could get very offended or they might be upset over the kind of conversations you're having. So when I say worldviews, I typically would break that down into two categories. Being, are you coming at this from a Christian worldview, or are you coming at this from a secular worldview? And so I would say that if you're not specifically saying that your group is a Christian worldview book club, then you for sure are going to go secular, in that you're going to want to be cautious on just stepping on people's toes, and if they're not coming into it having any kind of a idea on the type of conversations you're going to be having. The only reason I say this is because books in the discussion of the characters and morality always comes up, and worldview always plays into the conversation. And so depending on what each family personally believes, kids conversations is going to come out, parents conversations, it's going to come out. And so you're going to be far better off in the beginning to have a little bit of an idea of what type of direction and worldview your group is going to have. Our group is a Christian book club, so everybody coming in knows right off the bat that we have a Christian worldview, and so they are welcome to join in with us if they do not have a Christian worldview, but at least they have a little bit of a heads up and they're not going to be offended if our conversations veer toward what does the Bible say about this, or something along those lines. And so that's going to be up for you to decide what your group, which direction you're going to go. All right, next question. What will the general outline of your meeting look like? So you want to have a little bit of an idea of what this is going to look like. Schedule it out. You're going to feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more prepared for your first book club meeting if you have a little bit of a schedule of events. And I kind of have mentioned what we do along the lines, and I have my schedule broken down even more so to what type of conversations we have based on which week we are in each book. And in later videos, I'm going to go into that, and we're going to talk about what kind of discussions we have and what activities we do and everything based on the week. So that's something you could start thinking about right now, but maybe add a little more detail in as we get further along in these videos. All right, next question. This is a good one. Are you going to require parents to participate? So one of the things that the parents have said with my book club the whole time has been, it's a relief that it's something they just get to show up to, and there's no requirements really, and it makes this one activity in their life that is just easy. Besides getting everybody out the door and getting here on time, it's just something they get to be a part of, and it's not overwhelming. And for me, it works because I keep the book club so simple that it does not take a lot of work. Now, we've tried some things over the years where we've tried adding in additional classes and having parents take on different roles. And what ended up happening is it got complicated and it got overwhelming. And in the end, we got together and I just was asking everybody for input and how they felt. And we just decided to pull back, simplify it. So that's my suggestion, would be to simplify it. Now, couple things over the years where I do look for parents to help out. If, like we were talking about before, if you have a lot of younger kids, you're going to want to have a couple parents, get a couple of them. So it's a time for them to sit and chat too. It's not a punishment that they have to take the younger ones and take them to go play, but take a couple of adults who are willing to volunteer to step aside and watch over the younger ones. And usually nobody minds doing that. Maybe you want to ask some parents to take turns bringing in snack. So we've done that over the years, and that has been wonderful, and they've been more than happy to join in and help out with that. But at this point, we just bring popcorn every week because it's become just an automatic thing for us, and it's been easy. So think about that if you want to ask different parents to do a rotation on snack. Activity. If you decide that you're going to do a hands-on activity, maybe you want to ask a different parent to prepare that activity. We'll go into that in a future video, but just to give you a little bit of an idea, our second week, we always make a bookmark. And so over the years, I've said, hey, is there a parent that's willing? We have 5 books this year. Would you be willing to lead the making of 5 different bookmarks throughout the year? And once again, they've been really happy to join in. And if that's somebody's strong suit, that creativity, they usually will jump right into that. If they're not creative and they don't like doing the hands-on stuff, they'll say, oh, I'll lead a game or something like that. So that's an area where you might want to just kind of delegate a little bit of the prep work if that's something that you decide to add into your weekly book club meetings. All right, next question. How are you going to communicate with the members of your book club? So text messaging, where you create a text group where you're just communicating back and forth, reminding people of meetings through there. Will you do an email group? I would say what it really comes down to is finding out from your parents what they prefer. So if they prefer text, do that, because they're going to be more likely to check out, the information you're sending to them. They're going to be up to date on things. But if they prefer email because they don't like getting pinged all day long by text messages, then do an email. What I will say is that our over the years, it's been 8 years. Most of these families are the same families. They've been on a text group for 8 years together. And what's really actually happened is this has become like a bunch of moms and like a support group amongst each other too. We do life together. And so this book club text thread is also where we find out when somebody is sick and we can go check in on them, and when something's going on and we can just be a part of it. So it's become so much more than just a text thread to let people know what's going on in book club. So for us, texting has worked really well. But what I do tend to do is at the beginning of the school year, I put together a calendar and a schedule, and I will email that out to everyone so they have a hard copy of everything going forward for that year. And then I will send out a reminder through text as we get closer to the date on things. So, and then of course you always have the option of calling everybody. You know, people used to do that. So that to me is overwhelming. So putting a text thread together or an email group is way easier, and like I said, simplicity. Like I like to keep this as simple as possible. So, but you do have the option of calling everyone. Okay, the next decision, when's your start date going to be? And I mean, that's kind of a fun decision, and that's just going to completely be up to you and where you're at in life. So if you are nearing the beginning of the school year, maybe start it at the beginning of the school year. But if you're midway, I don't think there's really a bad time to start a book club. Just get in there. And I mean, it could be messy and you could just jump right in and get it going, but figure out where you're going to meet, and then just go ahead and get your start date and go for it. Start small and build from there. Next question. What are you going to do if your book club gets too big? And in the beginning, you might be thinking, I don't even know who we're going to get to join this group, but you would be surprised when people start to hear that there's book club. They want to join because everybody wants their kids to be better readers, and everybody wants to get their kids excited about reading. And then when they see other kids joining together and having fun reading books, they want to get in on this. And so there's our group grew really fast. And as soon as we have one family who moves or has to step out for some reason or another, or their kids just graduate out and are doing, I mean, we immediately have families coming in and filling the void. And like I said, we've always had a waiting list of people. And it pains me to tell somebody that they cannot be a part of our book club. And the only reason I have to say no is because I know it'll be utter chaos if I don't put a limit on here somewhere. So you've got to decide what you're going to do. Will you just keep on adding? Are you going to split off into smaller groups? And I will say, I've suggested this many times. And when you build this group up, it's like a family, and nobody loves the idea of splitting off. Everybody wants to stay together as a group. So the easier method by far is going to be to reach your limit, stop there, and then put families either on a waiting list for when somebody, has to leave the group for one reason or another, and then bring a new family in, or go ahead and start working with people and saying, hey, let me help you get a new group started once yours has reached the max. And that's where I'm at. And that's where I'm really hoping these videos will help out too. This is going to be a great place for me to be able to say, hey, check out these videos, and I'm right here and available to help you with any questions you have also. But that's going to probably be the better way to go, is to start helping people to initiate starting new groups. And if you can step in and kind of mentor them through it, then it's going to be a lot less scary for somebody to start up a new group. And you could also have them come in one week and see how you're doing things. And then that would make it a little bit less scary if they can just get a feel for what it looks like, and just how you run each meeting and going from there. And then the last question that I have on the questionnaire is, when and how will you incorporate new members? So let's say you do have room to bring in more families. You have to decide how what that's going to look like. So when your group is small, you're pretty much going to be like, yeah, 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 come join us. Let's go, let's go. You might have them join in the middle of a book. You might say, hey, we're going to start our new book in 3 weeks. Why don't you join in with this new book? And you're just going to be excited to get them in there and joining in with the group, and you're going to see the group growing, and it's going to be great. Um, as you get bigger and bigger, then it gets a little bit more complicated and you have to start deciding, okay, what does this look like? So for us, we do 5 books throughout the year. We give each book 6 weeks. So we've got 30 weeks of book club, and then we have that 1 week in between each book. So every 7th week, we have a break. Now, we allow families to say, hey, we're getting ready to enter this crazy season, and we just don't think we can do a weekly book club right now. And so we'll say, sure, take a book off, take a break, whatever you need to do, and we are going to reserve your spot and we are not going to give it away. And so our numbers will fluctuate because of that, but it helps out a lot because there's just the different seasons of life and things come up. But what we do at this point is at the beginning of the school year, I ask each family, will you be returning? Are you still needing a book club? If not, we're gonna open up those spots. So it it's a hard question to ask because we never want to lose anybody, but we also want to make sure to open up spots to new families. So at this point, we bring in new families at the beginning of the school year, and that just works out really well in allowing people to have the flexibility um, to take a break if needed. But at the same time, we're making sure that nobody is on our waiting list too awfully long, because hopefully we'll either start them up in a new group or there will be a spot that will open up for them and going from there. But it is something that you might have to start thinking about pretty early on is at what point do we have new families come in? I will say it's a little tricky if it's in the middle of a book because bringing in anyone new, it can be a little chaotic if they aren't already um, involved in the conversations and everything you've been having with that book. So my suggestion in the beginning would be just wait for the next new book. And then as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, maybe say, oh, we're going to wait till the second semester after Christmas, kind of a fresh start there. And then as you get bigger and bigger from there, to say, how about you bring in families in the fall? And that's just a really great way, and you can help them get a little more oriented with the flow of things and everything before they join in. So those are just my suggestions. Now, like I said, this entire questionnaire that I just went through, it is going to be on my Teachers Pay Teachers site. I'm going to put the link below. It's totally free. So you can go there. I'm going to have it as a PDF printable, and you can just walk through each question. I even have on here the options. So giving you ideas. So I've told you my suggestions, but I know that my way is not the only way. There's so many ways. Every group is going to be completely different. So for instance, when you print this out and it says, where will you meet? It has options for you to circle. So at a home, at a library, you go through and circle your answer. And so if you go through this entire questionnaire, believe me, when you're done, you're going to feel so much more prepared and ready to start your own book club. It is not going to feel like this big thing that you're just unsure of. You're going to feel a lot more prepared. And as we continue on with these videos, I'm going to break it down and we're going to do the next step. So the next video that we're going to be doing, I'm going to talk about what we do our very first week of every book. We do an author study. So author studies have been one of our favorites. So I'm going to look forward to sharing the details about how we do this and what it looks like and how I get the kids involved. And I even have parents say that author study is one of their favorite weeks, and they all try to get in there and make sure that they're a part of it. So that's going to be a fun video. Now, I forgot to say this, and this is like the cardinal thing you're supposed to say for every YouTube video. Would you please If you're liking these, if this is helpful, will you please um, subscribe or give me and give a thumbs up and give a comment. That would be great. Give me questions, any questions you might have, any comments, any ideas, because this is a lot of information just coming from my experience. But if you're already running a book club and you have had other experiences, that would be great to share that information with everyone too. So please check back, check out the next video on author study, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe. Thanks.